Hi, this is Biohazard Babe on Monday the 18th, coming to you from our safe space. And today is going to be, I'm going to talk about premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So it is going to be a little bit more towards our women folk. However, it is very interesting to hear about this, and it is actually interesting, and it might be helpful to some men and to some non-binary as well to learn this, because it does have to do with female hormones, and it also, for men, if your ladies actually do have this, it might help you learn a little bit about why they go so freaking nutso before they have their period, because I have been diagnosed with premenstrual dysphoric disorder, shortened. It is called PMDD, and I know a lot of people have been like, I have boyfriends. I now have to warn them. Because it's not like regular PMS. It's not just your regular, oh hey, I crave chocolate and I might cry here and there, and oh, I want to watch a romantic movie with you, and no, it's a little bit crazier. It's way more intense than that. I mean, if only you knew, how insane it can get. So it is so bad. And I didn't even know this existed. Never even heard of anything. So I'm assuming there are a lot of people that may not even know this exists either. And they may be going through this or may have family that are like, you're insane. And that's what happened to me. My mom was always like, you seem bipolar around this time of the month. And so I always knew it wasn't bipolar because I already knew I was dealing with depression. I was dealing with, some other things. But when I was talking to my therapist, she was like, oh my gosh, yes, my sister has been diagnosed with it for years. And you seem to certainly fit the bill. Like around that time, I seem to get a little bit more irritable, number one. And then these are part of the, if you look online, I've listed them out, like these are, and I fit every single one of them. So here we go. How they describe it online as, so I'm just giving you the definition on how they describe it. It is the severe form of premenstrual syndrome, which is PMS, that includes physical and behavioral symptoms that usually resolve with the onset of menstruation. So as soon as you start your period, guess what? They disappear. You're cured. It sucks. Seriously, it sucks. Because sometimes you don't even know that it's happening. Like, that's how bad it is. You don't know it's happening, okay? And then you get this is what happened to me, okay? Last a couple days. So, my mom was visiting. I'll just be honest. My mom was visiting. And it was very emotional for me. Something had happened and I took it wrong. And yes. And I was taking things, whatever. And I was very emotional. Okay. I should have known, but okay. I got very emotional and I broke down. We had a fight kind of, and I cried, and there was a reason for it, really, in general. But I was like hurt and I needed to get it out. Time. I mean, it was bad. And then, guess what? Friday night, the red tide came. Oh, that's why. I was probably so angry and vicious because I was vicious. And I am not usually as vicious. I'm vicious. I'm a vicious. Okay, y'all don't know me. But I can be a very vicious person. I mean, with all the bullying, and we haven't gotten there yet, I haven't done that video, but with all the bullying, with everything I have been through, I have a viciousness to me that a lot of people don't know about. I don't talk about it, you know. But I guess that's what this vlog is for. And everybody, people still want me to write the book, and I'm like, it's really hard because it's about telling secrets, I don't know. So what they describe online to be some of the, how some of the symptoms of this PMDD causes extreme, and for me, it's extreme mood shifts that can disrupt work. Now that I think about it, I guess it can. I've never actually thought about work, but I guess it could, yeah. And damage relationships. Now that one, yes. And for my female friends, I'm very honest with them because I normally, if I'm very close to someone, I'm an alpha female as well. So they usually latch onto my cycle. And if there's, if we're both alphas, then yeah, we usually cling on to each other's cycle, like me and my friend Morgan. Yeah, I mean, it can damage, guys. Now I know that I need to warn someone who's going to be entering a relationship with me that during that time, okay, PMS is not just PMS. It's it's World War III. Just be prepared. And it really, once you get through it, everything's going to be okay. It also causes excessive sleepiness. I've noticed this, that usually before my period starts, I'm very tired. I'm usually exhausted. I could usually fall asleep on the floor somewhere. I've always been that exhausted, to the point where, and it's usually the day before that, I could fall asleep no matter where I am. That's how I usually know it's coming. I do get cramps. I haven't had cramps in a while, which I don't know. I'm getting older, so maybe whatever. It also causes extreme sadness. So this one also explains why I cry out of the middle of fucking nowhere, for no reason. And this helps explain why, I'm sorry, you're probably not even watching this. You'll never watch this. But CB, I'm sorry I cried that day that we were supposed to go watch the football game with your family, and Tootsie was under the bed, and my mom was like, "Why are you crying?" And I was so emotional because I was having to go back to school. I knew there was something wrong with you because you were changing, and I knew it was because you had just seen your friend who had got you into drugs. And I knew that you were changing. And I was right. Because a week later you broke up with me for out liquor? I still miss you to this fucking day, and it sucks. So, but you didn't understand. And of course you don't understand. I was in my 20s then, and you were 19. I mean, of course you didn't understand why I was crying like a maniac. I didn't understand why I was crying like a maniac either. Dumbass. But now I do. It also causes extreme hopelessness, depression for me, it can cause for me suicidal ideation sometimes. It'll cause irritability, anger, which is what happened to me this time. I mean, I did apologize. I do apologize. it sorry. I'm I'm an alpha female Leo lioness woman who's single for 5 years. I mean, I can take care of myself. I don't need a man, you know. I mean, I want one. Someone. But I don't need anybody, so I can take care of myself. And so no. I'm a tough cracker. Doesn't even make any damn sense. Anyway, I can take care of myself. I don't want to, but you know, it's come to that conclusion. So yes, I would tell somebody about this. And then of course I also have the regular symptoms of PMS, which is so much fun. Which would be, you know, breast tenderness, bloating, yay. And for me, hyped libido, which is awesome because for me, with all the depression medications, I don't know if anybody else has this, but it sucks because it's either you take your depression meds or you have your libido. I can't stop taking my meds. I just can't. There's no way. I'm not gonna do that. But it does reduce your libido, and it sucks. But at the same time, it's like, well, I don't have anybody, so guess it doesn't matter. But it does to me because it just does. So, and it does say, you know, so according to the Mayo Clinic, which whatever, like I said, I got this online. Never that. I mean, you can self-diagnose yourself for certain things. This one says you can for some reason. But it does say, quote unquote, drugs and lifestyle changes may help. For me, no. I've done CrossFit. All those months, all those years, I've done different eating. Eating healthier is always better. I've known that. Eating clean always helps. You cutting out the junk food. Reducing that to a minimum, because like, okay, my favorite food is French fries. Not gonna give that up, or Diet Coke, sorry, but I would try to reduce that so that I'm not eating, you know, as bad. So it does say, you know, another management skill is exercise, to exercise it out. So for me, you know, I was trying to, you know, it did help somewhat with like the anger, I guess, like when I would deadlift or squat like 350 pounds. That does help get me angry, the anger out, you know, because when I get into beast mode, I'm like, oh, I mean, I'm a beast. In the gym, I'm a beast. Um, stress management, cognitive behavioral therapy, which I do anyway. I talk about it all the time, and meds, and I'm on meds. So, I talked to my doctor about it, talked to my psychiatrist, told him what my therapist had told me, and, you know, he kind of rearranged some things, and I've talked to a gynecologist about it. My gynecologist is amazing. I love him. I love him so much because when I told him, and this is why I love him, he's old man, old, but I love this man because I told him one day, and of course, you know, this was within these 5 years that I've been alone, but it was one of my appointments, and I did ask him. I said, you know, I'm sorry, but I'm having trouble. I said it was honest though. I was, at the time I was dating one of these gentlemen that I'm no longer dating, and I don't want to embarrass who it is. It's kind of funny. Well, it's not the one who's dead, so um, he was better at sex. Anyway, I was telling him, I was like, I'm unable to have an orgasm. And is there something, I mean, like, I'm doing wrong? Like, is there a pill? Like, he's like, if there was a pill, everybody would be taking it. And I'm like, I know. Okay, but, like, what can I do? Is there anything I can do? And he looked at me and he said, you know what? You haven't done anything wrong. You're fine. I'm like, okay, what do you mean? He's like, you haven't met the right man or the right person that wants to get to know you and your body. Like, get to know what feels good for you. Get to know your pleasure points. Get to know. And I was sitting there hearing this old man, he was like my grandfather's age, telling me this. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, I like you. I like you. And I was like, thank you. That makes me feel good because I've only had one, and that was the love of my life, the guy I think is the love of my life, who is no longer in my life. So I'm waiting for my partner, it's like, it's hard. I'm like, okay. And it's interesting because they say causes of this can be likely sensitivity to reproductive hormones. And I've always thought that was interesting because I've always tried, since, I could get birth control, which my parents didn't want me to do. So I never really did. I tried them in high school, but I didn't like how I felt. So I waited again until college when I could do it myself at the clinic on campus. And again, I could not stand the side effects, and it was gaining weight. I have pretty much, for the most part, I get pimples here and there, and I always got pimples here and there, but I never had like cases of acne. And so I just was lucky there. And so I've never been able to take hormones, never. And so my final thing, I was like, well, the only thing I can do is a copper IUD. So that's what I've done. Honestly, I recommend it for people who can't take hormones or are looking for an alternative. I worked in the OR with gynecologists who had it. There were, of course there are always going to be cases that you hear about where you hear about the bad things about IUDs. Just make sure your doctor knows what they're doing. That's all I can say. I have known some bad cases to go wrong that had to go to the OR because of the doctor itself. Make sure you trust your doctor. Because you should not have to go into the OR to get that removed. And if you do, I would look into a lawsuit. Just saying. And of course, they recommend that this cycle, PMDD, is about 6 days. For me, I feel like it's more like 3. Because it's very precise. It's right before. But it happens every time, every month. And it sucks because people around me have to deal with it. People, my family, have to deal with it. And we know that I have it. But until the red tide comes, we don't know for sure if it's that or And when you know what I mean? But what I'm saying, okay, now, this is true too. What I've said while I'm during the premenstrual dysphoric disorder, don't take that lightly. I still meant what I said. Does that make sense? I still meant what I said when I was saying it. But it was probably more intense and probably ruder and more, it probably went way overboard, than it, and it did the other day with my mom. But sometimes you need those days, sometimes, people need the time to just go crazy, and I needed that day. However, that's no excuse. I did apologize. I always apologize for how I feel, how I make people feel is something that I value. I do not like to make other people feel bad. And that is because I always feel bad about myself. And I don't know where that stems, where I can't fix that. I don't know right now how I'm going to fix that. I know in therapy, I've talked about it a lot. And every day I work on it. It's a struggle. That's something I'm working on. Still, is that in my mind, I still look in the mirror and I still say, "You're a bad person. You're a bad person," and I don't know where that came from. So I'm still trying to figure that out. I think it comes from a lot of different, like I said, a lot of different things. It stems from my childhood, but I just don't understand why I can't move past it. But I also have learned that I am very aware of other people's feelings, and because I'm an empath, and because of that, and because I was raised as do unto others as you would want done to you, I always go out of my way to apologize profusely after something is done that I've done to someone. And that's why, like, after the breakup with the one that after the breakup with the guy that the love of my life, like, I wrote him letters. Okay, you cannot tell me, boy, that I did not try. You cannot tell me that, because I did a lot. And so, like, it's just stuff like that. I don't know. I always try, and I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be, never will be. Nope. All I can say is that I try to do unto others as I would want done to me. I do, it was something I needed to bring up to, I needed to bring it up. It needed to be talked about. And then, we talked about it, it was apologized, and we moved forward, and there you go. But yes. So I hope that this little short video, 30-minute video, has given you some insight into premenstrual dysphoric disorder, because it is insane and it's horrible. I don't wish it on anyone, and if you do suffer from it, I'm sorry. And guess what, girl? You have me right by your side. I am right with you, holding your hand, because I know how hard it can be. And I know how people don't understand it and will think you're insane. And like I've said before, really, reach out. I'm here. Leave a message. Leave it, this is a very personal video because I do suffer from this and it happens every month. And it really does take an effect on my life because I know that people see it. And I know that probably coworkers have seen it too. If I could ask them, I know that they probably have seen it. I get quiet. I don't come in and I'm not as bubbly. And, I know people have noticed stuff like that. And that's those days. And then I'll just go, well, and then I'll say, and then it makes sense. I'm like, oh, I'm on my period. And then they're like, oh, I'm like, yeah. So that is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And so if you suffer from it, or if someone you know suffers from it, I hope that helps a little bit with some information. Some tips and tricks. I would just say get some exercise. If you are going to be in a new relationship, I would give them a heads up, let them know. And then kind of let people know what you need. If there's something that you need, let them know. Like, hey, like if 3 days before and you don't want to talk to anybody, let them know. Say like, hey, you can always put up boundaries. Because I usually go no contact, and it's always really nice to go no contact for me for usually the first 2 days, unless there's something I really need to talk to my parents about. I usually just go no contact so that it's just like me, I'm getting my stuff done, and I'm taking care of what I need to do and myself. And my animals, and taking care of just, and that usually works the best. Just so that it's just taking care of me. But I hope these videos are helping someone. I'm glad I'm getting some more followers on Instagram. These videos are not getting views on YouTube. I don't know why. I don't know. So, I hope we can get more views on YouTube. And I'm gonna keep making videos. So I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm just gonna be stubborn about it. So I'm gonna be back next week. And I'm gonna keep posting this week, and we're gonna see what happens. So I'm here for you guys. If you need anything, let me know. And I hope y'all have a great week. All right. Bye.